Hey, people. So here we are. Well, thanks for being here. My name is Jimbo. I don't know if you know me, but if you don't, you'll get to know me now. Well, I'm also here on the phone seeing all the comments in Facebook Live. So, yes, we're going to have 1 hour and I'm going to show you how to do a 3D word using Procreate. And yeah, first of all, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm a graphic designer, former graphic designer, actually. And I've been doing lettering for the last 7 years. You can see here some of my pieces. Basically, what I do nowadays is lettering, illustration, and also working on branding projects. And as you can see in this image, I also do products for designers. So basically, I teach how to do lettering. I just did also a class with Domestika recently. And you can also find my brushes for Procreate that my studio Shalbam does. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to tell you a little bit of my studio. It's founded by me and my partner Thea. And yeah, this is basically the stuff that we do all the time. And yeah, today we're going to be doing something colorful as well, something that you can, more or less see in these images. And nothing, I'm just going to open Procreate and we're going to have 1 hour. I think it's something around that. I'm also having a little bit of a cold, so sorry if I stop from time to time. And yeah, I think we're just gonna go straight to Procreate, and we're gonna start doing this letter. In the end, we're gonna also have some time to ask some questions. If you don't understand something, or if you want to ask something specific about the program, or about lettering, or about illustration, or about whatever you have doubts about, just put it here in the chat, and I'm gonna see it. There's also a fly around here, so we're gonna say hi from time to time. Okay, so yeah, we can just go straight to Procreate. Okay, so sorry for these little breaks that I'm doing, but I really need to blow my nose from time to time. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you a little bit of my work here, just to see what we're gonna do today. And I wanted to show you something that I'm really excited about. It's this piece that I'm working on right now, and I didn't show it yet. I mean, if you go to my Instagram, you can see some of the process. But I'm really excited about this one. I'm celebrating that. I have 400 students, well, more than 400 students now in my Domestika class, and I'm super pumped about it. So yeah, this is something to celebrate it, and I'll probably gonna post it tomorrow. Also, yeah, well, I mean, you can see that, for example, like we also do this kind of products for Procreate, with the brushes, and we also have a bunch of freebies. You can also check that out in my website. And yeah, well, you know what? Let's just go straight to do the piece, because I think we won't have much time. So what I'm gonna do here is to create a new document. And I'm in Europe, and that's something that I say all the time, because I always use centimeters. Probably some of you are, in America, using inches or stuff like that. So for now, you can also use so when you go to create new canvas, you can also go to the screen size, and that's going to be okay for today. I also wanted to tell you that I always use a bigger canvas, because sometimes I do pieces that later on can be commercialized. I can sell it in prints, or I can put it in different mediums, or just print it because I want to, and I want to put them in my wall. So yeah, just make sure that the document is big and that you have also enough layers. So in this case, I'm gonna do something around 25 centimeters times, let's say, 20. And here, I think DPI, it's going to be 350. Remember that if you want to print it in real size, so let's say that if you want to print the 25 times 20 canvas, the minimum DPI you should have is 300, right? So now we are having here 350. So the size, I could print it a little bit bigger than 20 times 25. Okay, so yeah, just let let's create this. And now we have the canvas. So as you can see, and I think it's gonna pop now in the screen, but the other day I made a poll in my Instagram stories, and you guys said that you wanted me to do a short 3D word. So I have three options. One was a quote composition, the other one was a short word, and the other one was just a detailed single letter. So yeah, we're gonna, I mean, more than 80% of you voted for short 3D word, and that's what we're gonna do. Since, I today I was like really craving for tacos. So I decided that I'm gonna use the word taco. It's something short that you can also see how I'm gonna apply some effects and stuff like that. Remember that if I do a long word, we wouldn't be able to show you the whole process from beginning to end. So yeah, the word taco has 4 letters, and I think it's gonna be perfect. You can use any word you want, and also a letter. Like if you don't have time to follow along, you can also do just a single letter. Or even if you're not into lettering that much and you just want to learn a little bit of the effects, you can also use typography. Remember that Procreate has the typography tool, and you can just type there some word or some letter and get started with it. Okay, so let's go here, and the first thing I'm gonna do, well, I'm gonna grab my Apple Pencil, and on a new layer, I'm gonna create some guidelines. I have this. This is one of the sets that I've created in the past. It's basically full of lines at a certain angle, and that's really helps me when I want to do a word. So, for instance, I could just tap here, and I'm gonna have the guidelines done. This word I'm gonna do a little bit with an angle, so I'm gonna use probably this diagonal is gonna be cool. Just gonna select, and I'm gonna flip it horizontally, gonna place it in the center. Remember that if you have the snapping options turned on, magnetics and snapping, it's gonna be easier for you to place your lettering all around the place. And just duplicate this layer, and I'm just gonna bring it somehow somewhere here. I'm going to join this and bring it in the exact same center. So that's gonna work. Now what I want to do here is to bring the opacity down a little bit, create a new layer, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and grab a brush pen. You can as well use any brush pen you have, and you can also skip this if you want to go directly to lettering. So what I like doing is, in order to get this natural feeling of calligraphy, I always use first a brush pen to do some calligraphy, so I kind of understand what's happening. So I'm just gonna like do some fast calligraphy here. Something like that's gonna work. And then maybe something a bit thicker. Okay, that's gonna be okay. And then something like this. Remember that, like I'm not a calligrapher, so this is just for me to get a sense of the whole word. And that's it. I'm just gonna do something like that here. I'll probably bring this just grabbing the selection tool. I'm gonna select on freehand down here. And I'm just gonna put this T a little bit smaller, so it's more balanced with the whole word. So yeah, something like that is gonna work. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm just gonna adjust the guidelines. Since I'm doing calligraphy, I'm kind of going overboard a little bit, so I'm just gonna adjust them a little bit, just so you can see the next step. So what I like doing now is to select both layers and kind of bring them a little bit bigger, something like that. And then I'm just gonna select my taco and bring the opacity down. Right. So now that we have this, what I like doing is to select a pencil and kind of like sketch it out on top. Okay. So now I want to change a little bit of the thickness of the whole lettering, of the whole calligraphy right now. and I'm just gonna, add some different style. Okay, I'm just gonna change a bit of the, the thickness of the typography, and kind of like give it a bit of a different contrast, etc. So what I'm gonna do is just, sketch something on top. You see right now, for example, I'm like bringing this a little bit more up, and just I'm sketching it on top. Okay, so remember that today we're just gonna have 1 hour, and what you could do is at home, you can later on stay a little bit longer and kind of like refine all these things a little bit more. Remember that this live is going to be saved, so you can go ahead and check it out again. So okay, that's going to be okay right now. Here now, here I'm also going to do something thicker. Yeah, something like that's going to be cool. Now I'm going to go thinner here just to keep a bit the contrast, and then here I'm gonna go a little bit overboard like this as well. Okay, I pretty much like this already. So now that I'm using the pencil, what I'm gonna do is kind of like make sure that I'm sticking to the guidelines, because we're gonna have a better rhythm, and that's important. So I'm even gonna make the letters a little bit thicker. Okay, so one thing that I want to do now is to head back to the guidelines before. I'm just going to bring the opacity up just for you to see it. I'm going to select this guideline down. I'm going to scroll 3 fingers down, and I'm going to tap on duplicate. Now what we want to do is to move this slightly up like this. And now again, I'm just going to pinch all these guidelines together, bring the opacity down a little bit more. So now what we see here is that this baseline of this line, instead of going all the way down like I did my sketch, I'm just gonna bring it up here, so I kind of add a bit more contrast here. Again, this is just depending on the style you want. You can also skip this part if you want. And here I'm just gonna, man, look, I'm even gonna go straight here, like something like that. Remember that this part and this part should be the same thick, as well as all the thins should be the same thin. Okay. If we had more time, we would do little circles all over the place. I always do a big one and then a small one, right? And if you do it on a new layer, you can just copy paste that in all the layers, well, in all the letters. So you see, if you're keeping the same balance everywhere. Since we don't have time, we're just gonna have to eyeball it. So, okay, so let's go fast here. More or less, I think that's all right. Just gonna bring up here this, then the taco down here, something like that. Remember to keep the same weight here. Yeah, so I think that's gonna work as well. And then the O. I think for the O, what I'm gonna do is just to do a complete oval like this, maybe a little bit thicker, since I think it's a tad too thin. And here, same old, same old. So remember to respect this last line you did. And here I'm just gonna do something like that. Okay, so now we have the word, and now again, this line, I'm just gonna exaggerate it a little bit. So something like this. And maybe, I'm just gonna end it like this, something simple. Probably what I'm gonna do here is to make it a little bit shorter, since the word kind of finishes a little bit before. So for that, I'm gonna select it with the selection tool. I'm gonna tap on the free form, and I'm just gonna bring it a little bit here. And now with the distort tool, I'm just gonna bring it a bit down. Okay, so we have this. Now what I'm gonna do is turn off these layers, and now we have our word. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm gonna bring this layers opacity a little bit down as well. Also, remember that I also speak Spanish. Well, I'm actually Spanish. So if you want to ask something in Spanish, I can also um, reply en español. Ok. Así que si tienen alguna duda, ya sabéis. Preguntad en español y os lo voy a responder. All right. So now let's do a new layer here. And now what I'm going to do is to select an inker. If you don't have any additional brush, you can also go down here and go to the calligraphy panel, the native panel, and just, select a monoline or a water pen, something that it's kind of cleaner and it's going to make our lines, well, our feeling of the lines thicker. For this, I'm just going to select one of my brushes. I think I'm gonna go with the wet inker. Yeah, the wet inker is gonna work. And I'm just gonna now make this thing a little bit cleaner. Well, I'm just gonna have to check out the time because, yeah, I don't know if we're gonna have time to add everything I want to add, but I'm gonna try. So now, again, if you have more time at home, you can do this slower. Remember that, the better, the smoother the better. But right now I'm just gonna have to again eyeball it a little bit. And one of the techniques I use here all the time, if you want to do it a bit better, and a lot of people say that it's difficult to actually maintain the line consistent. What you can do, I think I'm about to sneeze, guys. Sorry, give me a second. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. So what you could do is to go up here in the options. You tap on the brush, and here you can go and tweak the streamline. The more streamlined, the easier it's gonna be to do the line consistent, because Procreate kind of like gives you a little bit of assistance when you do the line. And Tati, I'm using a iPad Pro, and the app is the Procreate. Just I'm not using the Wacom, because if I was, I wouldn't be able to use the Procreate app that it's just for the iPad. Okay, so now one of the techniques that I use for doing the smooth lines is basically when you do a curve like this, if you keep your pencil on the screen, then there is some kind of a drawing assist that Procreate has as well. So now once you have the assist activated, you can go up here to edit shape, you tap on it, and then you're going to convert this line into an arc, right? So now what you could do is just to toggle these little points, and you can perfect your curves. So what I want to do here is to go arc by arc. So just keep it simple, and instead of doing the whole letter and letting Procreate help you, you can do just certain parts, like the curves. For example, let's say that the A, we could do something like that, and just keep it simple like this, leave it, and then from here do the same and leave it, and that would be it. And then you can go to edit shape and kind of like follow your sketch. Okay, so let's finish the T. So now I'm gonna try to do this as fast as I can, since now I explain you the basics. Okay, now we have this is good. Now the level of concentration is radical, pretty much. So bear with me just for a couple minutes and I'm gonna be back. Okay, so now let's say that we do something like this. Okay, now let's finish the T. I also, if you want to see more of the process, in my Domestika course, I also play with something similar to this, but I, go through the whole process, creating the mood boards and kind of making sense of the whole piece. Right now we just kind of like randomly doing this word. But if you want to know all the process behind, for example, a client project, you can check out the Domestika course as well. Okay, so I'm going to keep a positive mindset here, and I'm going to say that half of the word is done, which is actually not, but I'm going to believe that it is. Okay, here, for example, since it's a complete circle, we can just do a circle and wait for the ellipse to create by itself. And that's going to be okay. So now let's go ahead here. Okay, now let's go for a C. And I know that you see here, I think I'm raising my head from time to time and I see some comments on the screen. I see that Andrea is using Andrea Gonzalez is using a Wacom, but you can definitely do this process with anything. Like you could follow this process by hand as well. Obviously, it's not going to be the same, but, and as she says, she's using tracing paper. I believe I read. That's also really cool because when you do these things by hand, you kind of get super attached to your words, and it's pretty cool. Especially when I was doing logotypes and everything, like lettering logotypes and all that. I used to work a lot by hand, and gotta say that it's pretty sweet. You get even a better control over the details. And there's no stepping back, so you have to use the eraser as well. And that's something that I believe we forgot how to use, at least me, since I have the iPad. I barely sketch anymore. So okay, finishing this, let me check the time. That's okay, 6:27. Okay, we're still good in time, since now the kind of like the fun part kind of starts now. I mean, I'm not saying that this is not fun, but when you're doing a live and you have to do a word like this, the pressure is big and you want to finish as soon as possible. Okay, so we have the word. So now what we want to do is turn off the previous layer. And now what we're going to do here is to color this thing. Remember that in Procreate, you can just grab the color from up here. I just drew a little arrow there and just bring it down. And remember that if this happens, you can just put your pencil to the left and to the right. So it's basically adjusting the threshold of this, and until it paints what you want. So remember to keep this in mind. Okay. Now that if you see that there is something that needs improvement, you can also go ahead and do it. Okay, now that we have this is done. I'm gonna retouch this little thing a little bit. Okay, and now boom, that's it. Oh, okay, so we have this. Good. So now what we're gonna do is to duplicate this word, and now we're gonna start painting and adding different 3D layers into this. So the first thing we want to do is to change the color inside. So now remember that we duplicated this layer. What we want to do here is to drop a lighter color inside. Remember to move your pencil to the right until everything gets painted. And now that we have this, we're gonna move the layer beneath, and we're just gonna move it down here. Remember that you can do this by using the pencil, or you could also tap on the screen with one finger. You tap on the screen outside the selection, and it's just gonna go down slowly. Okay, so I'm pretty happy about this. I'm just gonna maybe move it a little bit here. Okay, and now what we want to do is to join the corners. So basically go to the layer beneath, and with the same color, so with this dark one, we're just gonna join all these little corners one by one. Okay, now down here. All right, now we're gonna do one here. A little bit more, I think. Yeah, that's gonna be cool. And then up here, this as well needs a bit of joining. Okay. What else? Okay, up here. I see that there's people from all over the place in the chat. I see someone from the Philippines, India. Where are you from? Say it in the comments. I'm curious to see. Okay, so it's a good idea that I think Lucia said in the chat to show everything, like all the effects in one letter, so we can see more, and it also makes sense. So we're gonna try to see what's happening here. So someone is from Slovenia, Bilbao. Slovenia is actually my my neighbor country because I'm living in Croatia. Actually, our studio is in Croatia, so been in Slovenia for a long time, and I love it. So okay. Okay, so that's Tunisia, Argentina, Bangladesh. There's España. Wow. Someone is in Spain. I'm actually in Lleida, so also in Spain. Okay, so I'm missing this one. Alrighty, we have this. I'm actually missing more. I'm just kind of blind. In Spain right now, it's so hot, and the AC is not on. It's in the other room, so I'm frying. I'm frying down here. Okay, so we have this done. Now what we want to do is to do an outline of the whole word, right? So what we want to do here is to duplicate this layer. Now we're gonna go here to adjustments. I'm gonna add Gaussian blur, and I'm just gonna toggle to the left and to the right. Maybe you can add a Gaussian blur or of a, like, let's say like 7 to 10%, something like that. And now what we want to do is, this is like a really important step. So we want to do this. We go to the selection tool, we tap on automatic, and then we tap inside one letter like this. And now if we toggle to the left and right, we're gonna see what's happening here. So what I want is to keep this outline something like this, and then once you have it, you can just tap everywhere else inside the letters that are apart, and the selection is going to be basically the same thing, right? So now that we have this, we're going to go to invert down here, and now we're going to invert the selection. Now what we want to do is to go to the layer panel, go not to the blurry one, actually the blurriness you can just erase, and go to this first taco word, 3 fingers down on the screen, and duplicate. Now, as you can see, we have created an outline. And now, yes, verano total. Yeah, super summary. Yeah, I love it though, but being in the studio right now, it's not as pleasant as I would like. But anyway, here, what we want to do here is to maybe use some kind of a, let's say, maybe a yellowish color, something like that. It's not white, and just drop it in here. Okay, now we have the outline done, and now what we want to do here is to join all these little things. So for instance, right now I think I'm just gonna go ahead and select the wet inker again and just make this a little bit better. Okay. Now, while I'm at it, I think I'm just gonna erase this little part up here because it's gonna mess us up a little bit. So I'm just gonna erase it from all the layers. Okay, I'm just gonna blow my nose a bit. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so I was erasing this. I'm also gonna erase this one here. Okay, now that we have it, I'm just gonna go ahead in the outline and go ahead and do it a little bit more. So basically, I think pretty much everything is done pretty much okay-ish, I believe. So yeah, just take some time to actually take care of these little parts that are kind of off. Okay, down here, I'm gonna do one as well. And now in all these corners, I think I'm gonna have to do it because they look odd. So something like that. Let's see what else. In these corners that they're kind of like roundish, I don't like them like this, so I'm just gonna, make them a little bit more straight. Okay, well, it's pretty much done though. I think as far as I'm good with these little corners that are kind of bothering me a lot, I think I'm gonna be okay. So yes, I said that I'm gonna do just maybe one letter, but yeah, I think I just wanna do the whole thing. The problem is that once I start, now I want to finish this. And I think I was thinking before the session that if I don't finish it, I'm actually gonna, post a bit of the next steps in my Instagram, maybe later on or maybe tomorrow. Also, I thought that it would be really, really cool to add some kind of illustration around. So I was thinking to maybe do some taco around, maybe some tomatoes flying and all that. So yeah, I think I'm gonna finish it definitely after. I'm gonna try to teach you all the lettering parts, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do the illustration in peace after, probably once the allergy goes away, because this is like a torture right now. Okay, so yeah, that's good. So now that's a bit odd up here, but anyways, I'm a perfectionist, so that's one of the problems I have. Now we're gonna do the inside walls in the letters, right? So what we're gonna do here is to duplicate this thing and bring, like, do like a darker green inside. So you see now that we have these two things, right? So now we select the beneath layer and just bring it the same. Remember that it has to be in the same angle as the first 3D, right? So it's gonna go somewhere around those lines, I think. Yeah, that's cool. Now some of these parts are going outside. So like, let's say that if we put it in blue, now you're gonna see it. You see some of these parts, especially these parts, have to go. So what we want to do here is to go to the layers panel, select the first taco word, tap on select, Now go down here, invert, and then head back to this blue layer, 3 fingers down, and cut. So now basically what we're doing is cutting all the parts that are going outside the letter, because we don't want to use these ones. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this again in a darker tone. And now that we have it, I see a mistake here, so I'm just going to do it in a second. And now with the same color in this new layer, I'm going to fix this little thing. Okay. So now what we want to do as well is to join corners of these little walls inside. Or, you know, like you see, for example, these two, we're going to join them, and this as well. This is something that I did already. Maybe this one. If you overdo it, just get the eraser. Now maybe this one a little. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. If you see something that looks off, please let me know in the chat. Okay, so now we have this. And yeah, thanks, Susana. Yeah, it's kind of funny, you know, to be designing this with this cold, because I just my nose is running all the time, and I'm playing like. Okay, so now what we want to do now is to add a little shade here. So now what we did here, I'm going to do it again, but what we did here is to select the main taco, duplicate it, and now bring this one down, so underneath everything, and now select it, and we're going to move it. So remember that now we have to decide where the lights come from. It can be from all corners, but you know, like let's say that, I don't know, we can maybe bring it, let's say, up here. And what we're going to do here now is to go ahead and go up here to motion blur, layer, and now we're going to add a motion blur. So depending on where you move your pencil, we're going to get a different effect. So remember that we want to follow a diagonal, and that's what we're going to do with the pencil. So we're going to do something like this. And now, since I want a more solid shape, what we're going to do here is to duplicate this layer 1,000 times. So basically now we have, let's say, I'm going to do 5, pinch them all together, do it again, pinch them all together, again and again and again and again. So the more you do it, the better the outline is going to be. Okay, so I think I'm just going to do it once more, and done. Now I'm going to maybe put this into a darker tone, something like that. And now I'm going to move it, bring the opacity down as well. Yeah, something like that. And now move it so it kind of fits the whole board. So yeah, I think something like that's going to be okay. You could leave it like that. I'm not satisfied though, so I'm just going to redo it again. And this time I'm going to bring the shadow to the left corner down. So I'm going to do it like this. Let's see what happens. So remember, I'm going to do the same thing. Motion blur, bring it like this, duplicate it. You can also leave it like this if you want. You know, you're going to have like more of a, you know, semi-transparent look. So let's see what happens if I leave it like this. Remember to put it in a darker color and bring the opacity down. That kind of looks cool as well. So yeah, either leave it like this or just do it more times. Okay, bring it down. Yeah, okay, so I'm pretty much satisfied with this. Now what we want to do is to do a nice background. For this, I think I'm gonna we could try something like that. Maybe more like a bold color in the background, just not to go white, which is the easy thing to do. Maybe like bring it like, I don't know, maybe a little bit more orangey, yeah, something like that. I like that. Now select the whole word, and you can bring it more to the center. Okay, so now that we're done here, I don't know, I think we can start doing some shading. We're gonna start with the 3D part. So we go here and we go to the shading. We select a new layer and we tap on it and we do a clipping mask. Now that we have the clipping mask done, we're gonna select a darker color. And here it's time to use anything you have. A lot of people use the airbrushes, the native airbrushes in Procreate. That's going to give you a more natural look and it's going to be cleaner. But for this, I'm just going to use some of the brushes that I actually give for free in my Domestika course, which are up here somewhere. Let me see. Shalbam 10. So these are the 10 brushes that I give for free in the course. And I'm going to use, I think, the salted sprayer and the pinch of salt. So these are shaders, and what's gonna happen here is that it's gonna give me a little bit of you see, like a darker tone. So I'm gonna bring just this word, the 3D part a little bit lighter, I think, something like that. So now you get to see the shadows a little bit more. So I'm just gonna, again, we don't have time, so I think I'm gonna just do a little bit of this. So let's say I'm gonna play with the T, and then I'm gonna leave you to do the rest. So, okay, so remember that you can put right now, I should do a better, kind of study of where the light's coming from, but we don't have much time. So I'm just gonna add randomly a little bit of a shadow and light, so you get to see, how to do the effect, and then you can just practice home. So that's something about, yeah, that's cool. So now I'm gonna add some shadow here as well. So if you see that, this kind of looks a bit rough, so now what we're gonna do is to grab the eraser and clean it a little bit like this. So now again, I'm just gonna do some shadow here, a little bit here. Okay, and now down here, and then maybe something here. Now I'm just gonna show you the other brush. This is the salted sprayer. This is gonna be more rough. So as you can see, like I'm gonna add more texture. So I can go ahead and do a little size and kind of go and do a bit more of this shadows somewhere around here. Remember that I'm just gonna erase everything else on the other layers. Well, the letters, sorry, because yeah, there's so much need to do the others. So I'm just gonna do a little bit more, and somewhere here. And yeah, I'm done here. So what we want to do is to now add a couple lights. So we're gonna do with a lighter color, we're gonna do another clipping mask on top of this one. And what we want to do is to just spray in these parts that the shadows are not touching. So kind of like go into like a circular movement here. That's gonna help you. And add more in the center. And then as you go to the sides, kind of like disperse it a little bit. So again, center, and then size. You can turn up, well, put the size down a little bit and go to the corners. Again here, center, corners, center. Okay, so now that we have this, what we're gonna do is to go ahead and add this. Okay, that was the last one. Okay, so fast. What we want to do here now to add a bit more realism is to add some lights on the line here. So we're gonna create a new layer on top of everything actually, and we're gonna use the inker, and with a white color, we're gonna do this thing. Okay, remember that Procreate has this okay, so just got some info about more countries that you guys are from, and I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna tell them, wait. So I'm getting that you are coming from Indonesia, Texas, San Jose, California, Venezuela, Pakistan, Brazil, India. Well, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, hi to all of you. I love it. And I'm thinking that in some countries, especially in Asia, must be really late right now. So we have this here. Now let's do one here. And you can add also like random ones. So let's say somewhere up here. Okay. Also here, remember that right here, I forgot the lights, but you got the point. And now that we have this, I'm gonna duplicate this layer and go up here to adjustments, and I'm gonna bloom this. This is a new option that comes with Procreate 5X, and it's pretty cool. So now we're gonna make this little lines shinier. So remember that you can toggle the threshold by going to the left and right, and then you can touch here the size and the burn and all that. So I'm gonna do something like this just for the time being, just to understand how it works. And then we're gonna go up here and try modes. So one that I really like is the add mode, or you can also use the overlay, and you can also change this into another color. So for example, let's say that we want to do some, more like pinkish reflections. So just add a pink here. And again, you can try the modes and see, just take a look at it and see what you like the best. I think I'm going to stick with the white, maybe some lighter pink, but you cannot even see it here. Okay, so now I'm going to bring the opacity down so we have it. And now in this T, what I want to do is to add a bit of a shadow inside. So for this, we're going to go to the line that goes here. We're going to duplicate it. We're going to bring it a little bit to the side like this. And now I'm going to add a Gaussian blur to it. Now you can see that I'm adding a little bit of Gaussian blur here, and it's going to give us a little bit more realism to the whole piece. Now, what we want to do is to add some texture inside this theme. So we can also go ahead and do a new layer here. Sorry, I'm getting tired. So we're going to add a clipping mask here. And we're going to use all these brushes. So let's say that, maybe we can get some halftone inside. So something like that. So let's go here and bring the grain of the halftone smaller. Remember that this is a shader, so the more you press, the more halftone you're gonna get. Okay, and just so, since we are just adding it to the T, I'm just gonna grab the selection tool, and with a free hand, I'm just gonna go ahead and select the T, so it's pretty clear that we just give it to 1. I'm gonna even put the scale even more down, something like that. And yeah, just gonna spray this thing a little bit more. I'm thinking that we could even do it with a lighter green, something like that. Well, in the end, I'm doing the whole word, but it doesn't matter. And then maybe even so let's say that the more up, the more light green can be, right? So if you add more pressure up, it's just gonna be darker and darker, and now you can get this thing. So let's say that. Wait, I'm gonna turn the. Sorry, I'm gonna turn the Wi-Fi off. So let's. Yeah, let's put a bit more of a light tone here. And that's pretty much it. Now, let's say that you have the whole word done by following all these steps, right? What you can do is to add an overall texture to the whole piece, and you can also add a texture to the background, right? So what we want to do here is to add a layer on the background. And now that we are here with a darker tone, we can select, let's say, the corner sprayer, for example, and add a little bit of a texture in the corners. So let's say something like this. Yeah, it's gonna give us, a little bit of a groovy texture in the background. So now that we have this, we can just play with the modes a little bit. Linear burn looks cool, and just bring it down so it's not that visible. And now we can play with yet another texture. So for example, we could use here again the halftone shader, and with another tone, maybe with a wider tone, you can add a little bit of a halftone here, maybe bring it a bit more light up, and again play with modes. Maybe this with an overlay was gonna look cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then on top of everything, we're gonna add some texture that actually affects to the whole piece. And now what we're gonna do here is to get the flat brush strokes, and with a bit of with a bigger brush, we can just tap on the screen a couple times, 3 times tops. Don't put too many. And then here again, play with the modes. This linear burn looks pretty cool, and then just bring it a little bit down. So now you're gonna see that you get all these kind of like nice textures. And just to show you a final touch up that I'm showing in my class as well, is maybe we could add a bulb stem. So let's say that we want to do a neon kind of like lettering. So you could put the bulb stem like this, flip it horizontally. Remember that it has to follow your 3D. Bring it a little bit smaller and duplicate it, and you can put it all over your TE. So we could put, let's say, 3 here, maybe, I don't know, maybe a couple there. I'm just showing you, probably this is not the best lettering to use this, but never hurts anybody. So like, let's just put it around here. So I think I'm gonna put 4 here, one right here, one right here, and maybe one up there. This is just an example, but Now you could maybe like duplicate this again and go to the bloom tool again, and kind of like add some light to the whole thing. You could also, I don't know, bring somewhat of another tone and kind of like play around with it a little bit until you're satisfied. And then if you want to do this a bit more realistic, you can just grab a normal brush and kind of like do a hole in each bulb, something like this. So yeah, you could as well do something like that. I'm gonna raise it here, but I just wanted to show you. And the very, very, very last thing would be to add some flares. So get the flare brush that I have here. You can also use one, I think, in the down here into the main Procreate brushes. There is this one in luminance. I think this flare here you could also use. But for the sake of the exercise, I'm just gonna use mine from the course. I'm gonna select a white tone, and remember, on a new layer on top, go down here and place it where it shines. So here, 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 there, maybe one here. And again, you can play with the modes. I like the soft light. It's not too harsh, but it still looks okay. And yeah, you would have this, and we are pretty much done. And now you could just finish the whole word, put some illustrations around, and you would have it. I would love to see it. If you actually do this piece, um, you can go ahead and tag me and Thea and I in the studio. So at Shoutbam and at Jimbo Bernaus in Instagram. And we're going to share it with our community. For sure, they love it. I think maybe we can scratch 5 minutes. If you have some question or something like that, they're going to show in the screen, and probably I could go ahead and reply some. Okay, so yeah, here we go. We have some questions already. Hola, una pregunta. ¿Tú eliges la paleta de colores antes de empezar o a medida que trabajas aplicas el color? Okay, so I'm gonna say it in Spanish and then I'm gonna say it in English, okay, real fast. La paleta de colores siempre la tengo antes. Cuando hago el boceto, siempre tomo referencias de Pinterest o cosas así. Y lo que hago es crear la paleta de colores, siempre debido a un tema de que si una vez estás ahí metido, la paleta de colores no te va a salir. O sea, es algo que quieres planear antes y saber cuántos colores utilizarás, por qué los utilizarás, también es muy importante. Y hay cositas así. Yo realmente lo que haría antes de empezar una pieza sería ir a Pinterest, o hay un montón de hecho en el curso también lo tengo, hay un montón de pequeñas páginas web que también te ayudan a escoger paletas, o incluso puedes coger paletas de artistas que te gustan. Hay muchos artistas que también comparten paletas. En mis productos, por ejemplo, tengo un montón de paletas para utilizar. O sea que es muy importante, creo, de utilizar las paletas, bueno, de saber qué colores vas a utilizar cuando ya haces el boceto. Y lo que puedes hacer es hacer el boceto y luego pintar por encima, súper como mal, pintar un poco los colores y ver más o menos cómo se balancean entre ellos. So what I just said is that the color palettes, she's asking when am I using, so when I'm actually creating the color palettes while I do the whole process or before. So what I said to her is that I rather plan my color palettes ahead. So basically, before I go ahead and do the clean piece, I do my color palette. So for instance, in the course, I'm also showing that once I'm doing the mood boards and I'm doing the sketch, I'm also getting the palettes based on the concept that I'm using. So for example, if I'm using some, I don't know, let's say summary illustration, I'm going to use more, vivid colors. Whereas if I'm doing something wintry, I'm also going to, change the colors and use something more dark or cold. And also really important is to select palettes in the beginning that are easy to use. So what I teach in the course is that to create a palette that kind of can be successful and at the same time easy to use, you can also just like use 3 colors and use shades of these colors, right? So what I do a lot of times is to use 2 analogous colors, let's say a purple and a blue, and then a yellow that would be the contrasted one. I do the whole piece with these 2 analogous, like to this, I don't know if that's the word exactly, but like 2 colors that are kind of close to each other. And then I add the shades. So for instance, I'm gonna do a darker and a lighter color out of these main colors, and then out of the third one, I'm also gonna do that and use it in just like small elements, so it kind of like makes the piece pop. What I would say is not to complicate your life with like 25 colors, because it's really difficult to use. So just kind of like use less colors and plan ahead always, so you're not, you know, lost once you have the piece kind of like clean. Yeah, that's it. Let's see if there's another one. Okay, so Amadeo is asking, I have Procreate version 4.3.9. With this version, I can follow this live and its course in Domestika. I'm from Brazil. A hot Jimbo. Yes, you can follow this. The only thing that Procreate 4.3 maybe doesn't have the bloom option, but apart from that, you can follow everything because nothing much changed. Some things in the interface did change with the 5X, but Procreate 4 is enough to follow both this lesson and my course. If you want to, you know, when I'm doing this bloom thing, you can also just add the lines and then use a Gaussian blur on top and kind of like, you know, select the overlay and all these modes, and you're gonna get somewhat of a similar effect than in bloom. But yeah, definitely you can. Yeah, thanks, Amadeo. So Andrea González is asking, ¿se puede integrar a las letras un dibujo que uno haya hecho, por ejemplo, en forma manual con acuarelas o tinta china? Okay. 1 second, I'm trying to understand the question. ¿Se puede integrar a las letras un dibujo que uno haya hecho, por ejemplo, una forma? Yeah, I mean, yo supongo, Andrea, que sí que puedes integrar todo lo que tú hayas hecho manualmente con pinceles, acuarelas. No sé si la pregunta va realmente enfocada a que tú puedas como que hacer tu pieza en acuarela, fotografiarla y luego añadir efectos con Procreate. Tú podrías hacer eso perfectamente. Pero la otra, evidentemente, tú podrías hacer algo manual y luego tomar una foto como referencia, metértela en el Procreate y en una capa bajar la opacidad y pintar encima todo lo que os he enseñado hoy. Realmente podrías hacer ambas. Yo creo que, de hecho, en el pasado utilicé técnicas manuales y luego las pasé a Photoshop, y luego de ahí pues le daba un poco de como más efectos, como más en digital. Entonces lo que tenía era una pieza que era más o menos la mitad, ¿verdad? Era como algo muy manual y algo, y le daba el punto este de digital también. O sea que realmente puedes combinar técnicas y evidentemente manuales y digitales. So she's basically asking if you can integrate letters from a drawing that you've done before in watercolor in a manual way, so in an offline way, let's say handmade. And I guess that was the question. And I said to her that, yeah, sure. I mean, there is no problem to, first of all, especially in the course, I'm telling you that it's always important to start with the manual piece, so the sketches with the pencil, because in that sense, you know, you cannot erase and you cannot do certain things that you could do with the iPad. So for instance, what I do all the time, at least before, you know, it was just to do the sketches on paper, kind of like do it super rough so you get the ideas out, you know, and kind of like you get your brain trained. And then as you go, you cannot, you know, step back so much, and then you photograph it and then you put it into your Procreate, a new layer, bring the opacity down, and then kind of like you build up from that. And also I said to her that if you somehow have a piece that you've done in watercolor and it's like really detailed and you really like it, but you would like to add some, you know, somewhat different, you know, colors or maybe a couple effects in digital or stuff like that. I've seen a lot of artists that kind of like kind of bring both worlds, but without erasing the manual thing, but actually just adding up some things into in digital, you know. So definitely, you like, it's so easy to you know, to put both worlds in the same piece. David Castro is asking, did you get your brushes from somewhere, or are they the brushes that come with Procreate? Well, most of my brushes I made. So my studio shop BAM actually creates brushes, and we have a huge collection. I think now we have around 8 or 9 packs. So from different shaders for different backgrounds, for papers, for like manual stuff, to watercolors, to inkers, to pencils, to halftones. So we've created a lot of packs that you can get through our website, or you could also get, we have a lot of freebies in our website. So I think we have now around 25 brushes for our community newsletter subscribers, so you can also do that. And also in my Domestika course, I also give this 10 that I was using now. So if you want something for free, you have it in my website. If you have something more premium and more curated, you have it both in my shop. And well, no, actually, yeah, in my shop. And you can, but yeah, basically I do them, we do them, I do them myself in the studio. And yeah, that's it. Do you need to be good at drawing to create lettering art? Yes and no. So that's a tricky question, because drawing, I think, can mean a lot of things. I don't know how to draw, you know, human beings, for example. So yeah, but I kind of know how to grab a pencil and kind of like shade, and I understand a bit of space, you know, in order to create these dimensional letters. But no, I don't think you need drawing skills to actually get started with lettering. What you need is a foundation, right? So a lot of people so lettering is something that you learn through months and years. And even though you can get right now and do the course or do this live, and kind of, you for sure can have good results, right? But I would recommend you to do courses from scratch, understand letters, different kinds of letters, a bit of history, you know, to see where the letters come from. So it's really important to kind of like have a bit of respect to you know, certain movements that have existed in history. And the more you understand the letters and the different styles and all that, and the more you practice, the more well, the better you're gonna get. So no, I don't think you need drawing skills, but for sure there's certain practice behind our bags that we need in order to create nice pieces. Also, there is a couple products that I have. One is called the Kickoff Lettering Toolbox, and the other one is called the Layout Lettering Masterclass. So in the Kickoff, I show you how to start from scratch. So basically, you know, what's lettering, what's typography, what's calligraphy, and this is a Procreate guide, and it shows you, you know, how to do all these little you know, all the styles, and where to start, and how to construct letters, block letters, you know, script letters, and all that. What's a 3D, what kind of 3Ds they are. And then in this layout, once you know a bit of the you know, the letter process, you can with this layout product, you can kind of like create compositions and have an understanding of, you know, longer sentences, and how to, you know, combine them with illustrations, and kind of like how to put the words in the space, and what's more important, make it bigger, and what's not, smaller, and kind of like understand all this. So these two courses are really good, and they're also in my shop. But again, just practice, and I think with time, yeah, it's gonna get easier for sure. Okay, so that's it. I believe we have it all. If you have more questions, or if you're doing this and you're kind of like getting lost, or you need a bit more guidance, or, you know, whatever you might need, just go to my Instagram, or to my studio's Instagram, and Thea and I are gonna reply to anything that we might help you with. Remember that you can find us at Shoutbam and at Jimbo Bernaus. You can also check out my Domestika course, which I think they're doing some promotions right now. And you can also check our YouTube channel where I, kind of do different letters in short tutorials. You can find us there by typing Shoutbam Creative Studio, and we're gonna be there. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for being with me in this live. I loved all the questions, and I really enjoyed this process. And I really hope that you can take something good from it and apply it to your pieces. And yeah, I'll see you around, guys. Take care. Chao.
La idea es como algo muy frágil.
Se me fue la hebra.
I'm going to show you some examples. This is what we've got behind me.
¿Qué más preguntas tengo por aquí? ¿Cómo descubriste que lo tuyo?